Welcome to TradeTheNBA.com. This is John's Report. It's for the seventh day that will live in infamy. And in this particular case, probably isn't going to be a whole lot of anything. We had the continuation off of the, ABM green right here, which was the turnaround move. And we could see it starting here with the midterm buyers. We also had the cross of the steel at the exact same time. Those often tend to have the highest probability. They tend to have a little bit more duration. The problem is not getting the orange out of the range. Now, it's possible that it could break through here today to the upside on that, but typically you would prefer to see it dip below the red prior to making that move for any sustained kind of run. So this is likely to just have a small, steady move at this particular point. There is no impetus to really be anywhere else. The Nasdaq's still behind. That's going to have to even out. We had the same divergence, only the Nasdaq was outperforming earlier in the year. So clearly sector rotation, and we can see right there on this chart, shows you exactly where the rotation's been to. Industrials, without question. And some of them got a little probably overdone, so there's going to have to be some absorption in there, but you get excellent readings here of the DOC. However, moving above the white line, clearly an extreme condition. That's going to have to ease off prior to any kind of sustained action. And the likelihood is what happens is you get slight flat to sideways movement, could even be just, slight gentle increase, and then you have an easing of the readings, and that's an indication that more money is flowing into it. And we already knew that there was going to be a fund increase flowing to it. Let's see, we can extend this one out here because we just keep moving these bars. Been a long time at the same range. Hit the top side of it, rejected it a little bit, and you can see we ended up with, they needed to make the move. They got the dramatic move out of it from the central banks. They'll lighten up a little bit off of it, but it should still hold up within there. I think the idea is to still get it back up above that 107, back into this 110 range, which would be ideal for them. Whether market forces will allow that to happen, that's going to be the issue, and whether or not they're willing to really commit to holding that up. This was a defensive move to make sure that, this is a classic story. You buy in this particular case, it was sell the rumor, which was that the no vote would win, and then you buy, or in this case, cover on the news. And that's exactly what happened. Not a really difficult construct there. In this particular case, TLT, still not going to make any move, and there's just no real impetus to want to be in bonds at this particular point. Equities are where it's at for now, and simply because of the potential for rate hike, whether the Fed will go antagonistic to the potential of Trump's move in that, we're about to find out. Of course, here in Italy, you end up with the holiday starting on Thursday for the 8th. They end up with a lot of these additional holidays in between here for leading up to Christmas, but certainly isn't going to impact what the market's going to be doing. But it will be nice because it means that I can focus a little bit stronger back on some of the programming aspects that I've been a little behind with. USO, as long as this can stay in a mid-range, in particular, I think anything above the 1050 on USO, which would put you in the over $50 per barrel level, you're going to have improved conditions from a fracking standpoint, and that, which certainly is going to aid in growth issues for Midwest and that kind of energy sector movement, and I think that has a little bit of an inflationary pressure to it. So that could be an interesting one for us to be following as things go on, and that certainly would impact gold. Obviously, we haven't changed our assessment. Anything above the 113, you would want to be to the long side, but you can see the continued distribution. Some of this has to do with India and certain changes in the way their money is being handled. They try and remove a lot of these cash economy situations. And this is global. The coordination of that behavior, whether it was changing the euro from reducing the 500 euro bill down to maximum 100s, or even talk about eliminating the 100s. The idea is to force people into electronic transactions, and that's the ultimate goal, is to digitize the economies, and particularly currency, because ultimately you can't print enough money for what they're trying to do inflationary wise. This is the problem the U.S. has, and the concepts of minting $1 trillion coin, this kind of thing, simply because you've created virtual currency that doesn't actually exist. At some point, if that money actually starts getting put into the system, this was always the threat of massive inflation. So you were always countering it with the increase in cheap labor and a variety of other issues that we've gone over. It was all a staple of Fed policy for the last decade after the crash. And some would argue it's been successful. Others might say that it's perpetuated kind of an economic misery for a pretty good swath of the American population. I think that was evident in the election. And the human toll is never calculated as to, they all talk about a 4-point whatever unemployment rate, but 95 million displaced workers not in the workforce that could be, lowest participation rate. These are real factors that show there's plenty of slack, and not necessarily an inflationary labor situation, maybe in certain aspects of it, but not in general. 5K, we can see we were flat pretty much through here. Then we started to see the rising red. We had our orange dip through, and then we just continued with a series of little buy signals as things consolidated. And then the final one here, we were above the 7.5. Started to get a little bit overbought, but cyan moved under the red, and that was the end of it, and it just continued to move higher. Now we have higher highs, lower shakeouts. It's completely reset, though. When we got oversold here. We got oversold here on this tiny little dip that took us just below the ABM and resurfaced back out of it. And so that just shows you how much money is still being applied to this, that we're getting resets of overbought almost instantaneously as new money continues to flow in, and that's really what you have to be focused on. As long as there is no other place for money to go, it's got to go somewhere. And so buying the dips, the question is how much of a dip do you buy, and that just becomes a simple, you just have to go with readings as they are. And I had closed out the previous position, opened up a new one right down here as we came across these buys, and sure enough, played that one out. The same thing with the euro when it reached its peak, and we got the 5K short in it. Took advantage of that right there, and hasn't done a whole lot, but it's still moving along. Let me see, where did I actually enter? I have my market right here. It was 107.4 range, which was right up here as this started to turn into our sell orange. Was midway into that bar setup, a little bit above where it closed. Took advantage of that. Yeah, it was a great run from before. It was time to close that out, because the problem you get when you keep a position open too long is you end up just monitoring where your profit is as opposed to trading any new signals, and that becomes a deficit as far as equity appreciation. And I've talked about this before. Sometimes it's actually better to be moving a little bit more with the positions when you have clean signals than it is to hold on to it. And so when we had the exasperated news, sold off that peak and then waited for the little turnaround, took some of that to the upside, and then repositioned the short here right at this. And seems to be holding up, but it could be a little early on it, but that's okay, not a problem. We'll scale out a little bit here and there if there's any new buy configurations. Right now the orange sitting right in between there, so still in a continuation mode. That's where we're at for now. As always, though, I will keep posting the charts on the Skype chat. Trade well.